I thought an interesting way to maybe simplify people getting this concept would be to talk about vinyl records and how are vinyl records an example of both and thinking?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know how it is in the States, but in Europe, the records are very hip also, and especially with youngsters who are not raised with this ancient technology of turntable and an LP record. But now small shops are booming, and youngsters are really looking for also old material, but also new material, because you're not trendy as a band if you don't release also on vinyl. It's very interesting because these youngsters they have everything at their disposition streaming. So why would they choose for an old-fashioned technology, and why is it so attractive to do? And that's interesting, the polarity, because the more things get virtual, that you cannot touch it, the more people like to have something material in their hands. The cover has a beautiful artwork, even the record has the, you can sense it. And the more things get, let's say, just without any effort, it's important to have a kind of ritual, to have this record on your turntable, to take the time for it. The more things are going fast, the more people have the need to slow down. And that's very interesting because that means that every movement bears in itself its counter movement. And that development is not never in a straight line, but always in two sides. But if you think about that rationally, if for example, if you were a futurologist, someone who were a trend watcher 20 years ago, or say, or 10 years ago, and they would say, well, how would future look like? They say, well, we would all be connected with a chip in our head to Spotify or something like that. Probably that will also be true, but also the contrary will be true. And also when there is no rational reason, because if we rationalize it, well, having all these vinyl records, you need space to store them. They are vulnerable for all kind of scratches. And if you sit down, then you have to stand up again to put on the B side. So it's rationally you cannot understand it, but emotionally it works like that. So it is a beautiful example of kind of self-correcting mechanism. The more things go innovative and touchable, about intangible, the more, in fact, the other side becomes important. Then you've got also vinyl records, but you got cassette tapes maybe, yeah, and you got vintage. Vintage is also very, so it's also action reaction in that sense. And it's also interesting to know if you turn it around. And for example, as a manager or a director, if you want to change something in your organization, if you want to move in one direction, you also have to give space or to stimulate the other, the contradictory movement. So if you want to have, let's say, more digital, you also need to invest more in personal relationship with customers. Here in the Netherlands, there is a supermarket chain who has where you can scan your products, but you also have where you can have a small talk with the employee who like you did in a shop 30 years ago. So in fact, organizations feel that they have to work on both sides. The more you don't stimulate change, in fact, by overwhelming people with all kind of changes. No, in fact, also you need to create some stability, because if you overload people with changes, people will go into a resistance. While you create some safety and some stability, people dare to take a step in the unknown. Very paradoxical measures of often that you have to take instead of going in a straight line from A to B.